Hello, my name is Keith Davis. I am president of KLJ Instruments. I would like to take a few minutes to introduce you to the SQTR-2M ADSB squitter generator. The SQTR-2M is a signal generator for testing ADSB receivers. It has the capability to generate stationary targets, moving targets, and random fruit. It can also generate garbled signals, edge of specification, and out of specification signal waveforms. And for testing multilateration systems, the SQTR-2M generates time difference of arrival between 4 receiver ports. The SQTR-2M has 6 transmit channels that are used to create a variety of ADSB test scenarios for both airborne and ground-based ADSB receivers. The transmit timing for the 6 channels is synchronized to a master clock signal, while each of the 6 transmit synthesizers has its own reference clock so that the RF signals are non-coherent. As we look at the front panel, we can see that each channel has B and C connectors for 2 output signals. The scope output provides a trigger pulse each time the channel transmits a signal. The RF signal is detected and output on the video connector. Each channel also has an LED. When a scenario is running, each LED will flash on when a signal is transmitted. To the right of the 6 transmit channels is the RF out connector. For several of the operating modes, the RF signals from all 6 channels are internally combined and output at this Type-In connector. Immediately below the RF out connector are 2 TNC connectors labeled RF-In1 and RF-In2. External RF sources that are connected to these 2 inputs will be summed with the 6 internal channels. When the SQTR-2M is placed in the multilateration test mode, the first 4 transmit channels are no longer combined together into the RF out connector, but instead are output individually at the 4 SMA connectors labeled MLAT1 through MLAT4. The SQTR-2M provides time difference of arrival timing between the signals at the 4 MLAT connectors. At the far right of the front panel is a B and C connector for an external trigger input. This input is provided so that the start of a SQTR-2M scenario can be synchronized with external equipment. Below the external trigger connector is a utility USB connector. An example application is for the connection of a flash memory device for file storage. Finally, the power switch has an LED that indicates when power is applied. The rear panel has connections for a monitor, keyboard, and mouse. These accessories are supplied with each SQTR-2M. The SQTR-2M has an internal GPS receiver. An external GPS antenna is connected to the TNC connector labeled GPS. The GPS antenna and cable are supplied with each SQTR-2M. In addition to internal and external scenario triggers, the SQTR-2M may also be triggered by a 1 PPS signal. This 1 PPS signal may be sourced by the internal GPS receiver or by an external source. The 2 B and C connectors and the slide switch provide for connection and selection of an external source. Access for external control is provided via an RJ45 Ethernet connector. The SQTR-2M may be operated remotely using the Windows Remote Desktop feature or by using remote control commands from an external terminal. The SQTR-2M has 5 modes of operation as shown by the selections presented in the main menu. The significant features of each mode are summarized here. I will demonstrate the features of each mode in subsequent videos. Thank you for viewing this introduction to the SQTR-2M. In the next video, I will demonstrate the synchronous mode of operation.